All right, guys, welcome. It is that time of year. We've gotten all of our new forms and we are ready to rock and roll here in North Carolina. If I haven't met you yet, my name is Monica Perry and I'm the Market Center Tech Trainer, or the MCTT, for Winston-Salem, KW Elite, Greensboro, KW1, and Chapel Hill, KW United. I'm so excited that you guys are all here with me today. Get to set up some templates and save you guys a little bit of time. Keep in mind, I will also be doing Docusign tips, tricks, and time savers for CES. So if your Market Center pays for CES classes, you will have access to that class as well, where I go over more than just templates. All the time saving stuff that we can do in Docusign. And let me make sure. Yeah.
Are we all just staring at a blue screen?
Yes, you should be staring at my Docusign login screen, Kristen.
Okay, I can see your little mouse.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay, good deal, guys. So a few notes on things. The 2T offer to purchase and contract, the 4T agreement to amend contract has not been added to Docusign. I don't know how they missed those two very important documents. I turned them in first thing on Friday morning when I noticed that they were missing. But as of right before this class, I checked again and they're not in there yet. So I will check in on that again and hopefully we will get those. They are, however, updated in the NC Realtors library as well as zip forms. So if you're a user of zip forms, it is there, okay, and it is on NC Realtors. I believe that there's a 60-day grace period for forms. So if you had to write an offer today through Docusign and you used the 2021 version, you're probably going to be okay, but I would confirm with your broker in charge. And I apologize, I don't know how they missed those two forms, but I'm trying to get them in there as soon as possible. All right, so everybody's good, everybody's with me. We're going to start setting up our templates. I'm keeping an eye on the chat. I'm keeping an eye on the waiting room. If you guys have any questions, please ask, right? This is your time for you to ask your questions, okay? So in order to set up our templates, we are going to go to realestate.docusign.com. Again, that is realestate.docusign.com. And that is how we get to Docusign rooms directly. Now, we all know that when we're starting an opportunity, we want to start the transaction from, yes, the forms are in Dotloop already. Yes. That's a great question there in the chat. But to go, you know, we always want to start our transaction from command, but once that link is created, you can go directly to realestate.docusign.com to do your anything else with your forms, just so you know. Just make sure you always start in command first. But for setting up templates, we're going to go to realestate.docusign.com. Your screen should look like mine, and it should say Docusign Rooms. Okay, I'm going to give everybody a minute to catch up. If you're following along from your computer, head into realestate.docusign.com, and we're going to log in with our Keller Williams Docusign credentials. Okay, any questions?
It's not letting me add a plus sign to add another template. It's just giving me this.
Another template?
Like another tab.
Oh, you're on a Mac. It should.
Yeah, I know that sounds. I know that sounds
honey.
ignorant. Sorry, everybody.
It should let you open another one.
No kidding.
Are you on a Zoom just from your internet, or are you using it from the app?
I used it from the email. From the email link. So I'm trying to determine how to add another one.
I'm not sure, honey.
All right. I mean, that's my problem. I got it. I'll figure it out.
Okay. Just let me know. All right. We're going to go ahead and log in using your own credentials and following along on my screen. Keeping an eye on the chat. You guys feel free to unmute yourself with questions or drop them in the chat. either way. Okay, everybody good? All right, so now that we are in Docusign Rooms, make sure it says Docusign Rooms in the upper left corner. We are going to move into My Docs. My Docs up at the top. And I'm going to take this chance to speak to my teams because I see some wonderful admins in the Zoom. Would it be lovely if you could do this from anyone else's account? Yes, it would. And no, you can't. So if you have your Rainmaker agent, you have a couple of buyer agents, you have a lead listing agent, the templates will have to be set up from that agent's account. Okay, there's no way around that. We can't share static form templates. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you'll need to set it up from each agent's account. Okay, so now that we are in the My Docs tab, you're going to see a tab that says Form Templates. And that's what we're going to click on, Form Templates.
Monica.
Yes.
So I don't have that. It doesn't say my forms or anything. Is that because, would that be the Rainmaker of my team? All of that would be on their thing? Is that why it isn't showing up on mine?
No, Laura, you should be able to be in your Docusign and set up your own templates as an agent on a team.
I mean, mine says Docusign Rooms, but I don't have any of those tabs at the top. I don't have Dashboard, Rooms, Inbox, or My Docs. I don't have any of that on the top of mine.
Let me go back a step. Y'all keep asking questions. There's no question too small, okay? So Laura, from your home screen, do you see, is this what you see?
I see recently viewed rooms. I have all of that with the little houses and stuff, but up beside Docusign Rooms, it's just white. I don't have those.
What
Dashboard.
internet browser are you working in?
It's Google Chrome.
Recording in progress. Oh, goodness. Okay. Let me look at that after class, Laura. I'll have you share your screen with me and figure out why that's the case. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, honey. Okay. Is everybody else good though? We're under My Docs. We've gone to Form Template.
Hey, Monica, real quick. I had to resize my screen in order to see those options. So maybe Laura, if your screen is too small, maybe you can make it a little bit bigger. And that
Good call, Anthony.
Did it work?
Laura, try making your screen bigger, honey, and see if you can see it.
Yep, that did it. That did it.
Okay, good. Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. All right. Everybody with me? We're good? No more questions? Awesome. Okay, so I'm actually going to go through, and if you had templates from last year, just come through and delete them, because unfortunately, every year when we get new templates, new fields get added. If you hadn't noticed, the offer to purchase has now gone to 16 pages. So your receipt for the offer to purchase is now on page 16. So I'm just going to go through and delete any pre-existing templates that I had, because they are not going to be of value to me. I'm not going to do them all, but if you had pre-existing templates, just make sure you just go ahead and go through and delete them so you don't cause yourself any confusion for your 2022, 2023 templates. Any questions on that? Pretty good? Okay, so we're going to delete all of our old templates.
Could you update me?
Get rid of those.
Let her know, or do you want her to just call you later?
Oh, let me see who needs to be muted.
So I was finally able to figure out and finagle how to log in. And so I'm trying to determine exactly what the last thing that you said was, which is I need to be under.
Can you see Docusign Rooms in the upper left corner?
No.
Kristen?
No.
Did you go to realestate.docusign.com?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Docusign Rooms. Yes, I can.
Okay. Now, at the top, you should see My Docs. And if you don't, make your Docusign screen bigger.
I do see My Docs.
So click on My Docs. Once you click on that, you're going to click on form templates.
Got it. Thank
Good.
you.
Fantastic. Okay, everybody together? We're good? Awesome. Checking the chat. Nobody's unmuting. Good deal. So we're going to now click create form template in the upper right corner. The blue button, create form template in the upper right corner. Okay. Now we're choosing one form that we want to make a template for. Okay. One form. So the templates that I usually make for myself are the working with real estate agents brochure, the exclusive right to sell listing agreement, exclusive buyer agency agreement, offer to purchase and contract, which unfortunately we cannot do today because it's not in Docusign yet, but hopefully it will be soon. So the offer to purchase. And then I usually do my professional services disclosure and election form. Now you can choose whichever forms you want to template. Maybe you sell a lot of vacant land. I do not. If you sell a lot of vacant land, maybe you want to set up templates for the exclusive right to sell vacant land, right? And the offer to purchase on vacant land. I don't use them enough to warrant taking the time to set that template up for myself. But if you do, you can set up templates for that. You can set up templates for commercial forms. If you do a lot of new construction and you need all of those new construction forms set up, then you can set those up for yourself, okay? So the way that we set them up is going to be the same, okay? So I'm going to stick with Docusign Forms Library right now, and I'm going to select my second drop down, and I'm going to pick the North Carolina Association of Realtors group or library. Jim, run through that list one more time. Yes, working with real estate agents brochure, both buyer and seller, right? Because they're mapped differently. So I pick one of each of those and we'll run through them. Then I do my exclusive right to sell listing agreement, my buyer agency agreement, my offer to purchase and contract, and my professional services disclosure. And the reason I do pro services for myself is because I almost always work with the same vendors. If you don't, it might not be worth your time, right? If you're just always picking different vendors, which is fine, it might not be worth your time to set up that template. That's up to you and your business. Okay, guys? So just whatever works for you and your business is what you should set up. Good? Everybody with me? All right, so we're picking Docusign Forms Library, and then I'm picking the North Carolina Association of Realtors. Now, you could also pick group and then pick these groups. You won't have as many as me. Remember, I'm in 3 market centers, so you're seeing everybody's. But I don't want to confuse people, so I'm just coming from the library and going to the North Carolina Association of Realtors. We have this handy dandy form finder right here. So I can actually type working, and then I'm going to get a list, right? So this top one is the 161 working with real estate agents disclosure. That is for sellers. 261 is for buyers. Okay, so I'm going to grab this 161. I'm going to work through my seller forms first, and then we're going to go into buyer forms. I'm going to click use. It's going to open this up for me. And then this is based on the broker in charge in Winston-Salem. If you are not in the Winston-Salem office, confirm with your broker in charge that this is what you're doing. But for me, my license is in Winston-Salem. So for me, I am supposed to check this box, this box, this box, and this box, because these are all of the things that could happen if I'm working with a seller. I could just be a seller's agent. I could be in dual agency if somebody from my office brings the offer. If the seller didn't like that, I brought the offer and I was the listing agent, my broker in charge could designate another agent, right? Or there also could be a buyer agent working with an unrepresented seller, for example, in a for sale by owner. So all 4 of these scenarios could happen in a transaction. Therefore, I have them all checked off. Does anybody have any questions about that?
So for each one, you have to select it and click use because it doesn't let you select multiple.
Correct. You're doing one form at a time.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And yes, guys, I know that this does, Andrea only sees KW 509 and Triad MLS. Andrea, I want you to go and make sure your NRDS information is connected. I have had some agents that didn't have that. I'm going to open up a new window to show you guys how to do that. So if you do not see North Carolina Association of Realtors as an option, when you're in Docusign rooms, I want you to go into the upper right corner and click. You're going to then click on preferences. Once you're on preferences, you're going to come to your left and click on integrations. Okay. And then you're going to click add provider and you're going to pick National Association of Realtors, which I cannot do because I'm already connected, right? I'm already connected to it. So if you're not seeing North Carolina Association of Realtors, take those steps, click on Realtor. You're going to need to enter your name and your NRDS ID, your National Association of Realtors ID, in order to get those forms. Everybody good? Going once, going twice. Got it. Good, 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 good. All right, so we'll close this window back out. Okay, so now I've checked my 4 boxes that I need, and I'm going to go ahead down here to the bottom. And I know that these take a little bit of time to set up, but just remember, you get to use them for the entire year. So they do save you time. So 260-355 is my license number, and my firm name is Keller Williams Realty Elite. So now my working with real estate agents is pretty much done, except for I need my sellers to sign it when I'm going to be getting them to sign, right? So any questions on what I filled in on this? Now, each time that I add a working with real estate agents to my room, I will not have to check all these boxes. I will not have to type in my name, my license number, or my brokerage name. To confirm, since I work with multiple agents, do I have to sign into all their specific accounts? Yes. Yes, that is correct. You need to sign into each agent's account to set up their templates. If you are on a team and you are the wonderful admins who are the backbone of our teams, right? So yes, you will need to set it up for each agent in the team. All right, everybody good? Okay. We're going to hit save and close. So now my working with real estate agents disclosure for sellers for 2022 is set up for me to use. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and click create form template again. I'm going to go do the same thing, NCAR. And this time I'm going to be looking up my exclusive right to sell listing agreement, which just so happens to be at the top because it's form number 101. And I'm going to click use on this. Now, when you're setting up templates for these forms, keep in mind that we are not doing anything that is specific to one transaction, right? I have no idea who my sellers are going to be each time. And I do know that my firm's name is Keller Williams Realty Elite. So I can go ahead and fill this in, right? I'm not going to fill in my sellers, but I can fill in my firm name. Okay. Now, I was never big on coming soons or any of that kind of stuff. Okay. In fact, coming soon, I don't think was a thing when I was actually selling. So more than likely for me, it was going to be on the effective date. So my rule of thumb on templates is if I do it more than 50% of the time, I'm going to go ahead and do it on my template. Because if this one instance is not fit into that box, I can change it in that one room. Does that make sense? So if I do it more than 50% of the time, yes, Daryl, that is a great question. You can, in fact, set up multiple versions of this exclusive right to sell listing agreement, for example, and give them unique names. So maybe you have one that's set up for coming soon, and maybe you have one that's set up for effective on the marketing date, and maybe, you know, you can have several different versions as long as you give them a unique name. And the way that you do that is here in the upper left corner, you're going to hit this little pin and say that this is, you know, effective date or coming soon or whatever you want it to be. It just has to have its own unique name. And then you're going to click the checkbox. So yes, you can set up multiple versions of the same form in different templated formats. Great question. Okay. So for me, the effective date is going to be the date the agreement was signed by both the seller and the firm. For you, maybe that's different, right? And that's okay. For expiration date, I don't know right now, so I'm not going to fill this in. I don't know my street address. I don't know my tax information because it's going to be per transaction, right? Items leased or not owned, other items that don't convey, personal property, I don't know, right? More than half of the time for me, my seller is not going to be getting a home warranty. So I'm going to go ahead and check that. So under normal circumstances, I wouldn't need to check it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a 0 in this box. And I'm going to go ahead and put a 0 in this box. Because in my business, that is more than likely what's going to happen. Almost always here on number 6, cash and conventional are accepted. So I'm going to go ahead and check those off. I don't know if the property is going to be able to go FHA, VA, or USDA, or loan assumption or seller financing. So I'm not going to check those off. Does that make sense? Pretty good. In the WWREA seller form, working with the FSBO is necessary to select all of the choices. I always select all of the choices, Clarence. Again, that's based off of my broker in charge in Winston-Salem. So I would confirm with Crystal and or Bill what their take is on that. Because even if it is a for sale by owner, that could change, you know, somebody, you could list it or something like that. So it's the potential of what could happen in a transaction because it's just a disclosure. It's a great question. Good, ready, good? Okay. So seller agrees to pay firm a fee of what? Well, for me, I expect to get 3%, or I'm sorry, 6%. This is not a buyer form, Monica. I expect to get 6% of a listing. If that is different for you, we're independent contractors and that is okay. For me, I expect to get 6% of the listing price and split that half and half with the buyer's agent, right? So whatever your number is your business, right? Does that make sense? And then we have these days here after this expiration date for these many days. If I showed someone this property or it was shown while I had it listed, I expect to get paid. Whatever your amount of days is that goes in here is up to you and your business. I've seen 30, 45, 60, 90.
So that's in the buyer's agency agreement though.
Well, this is also on the listing agreement. Right now we're on the listing agreement.
Sorry, thanks.
That's okay. Right. So whatever your number of days is, that can go in there. Good. So now we're getting down to this cooperation with compensation to other firms. Whatever you do here and whatever your broker in charge says is okay here is what you can fill in here. Okay. So again, that is up to you and your business. If your broker in charge lets you cooperate with and compensate other cooperating real estate firms, you can check that off. Okay. I'm going to keep sliding through. So I don't know when marketing is going to commence. I don't know if I'm going to be coming soon. Most of the time, people are going to let me put out a sign, do an open house, advertise on the internet, right? So I'm going to go ahead and check those boxes off for myself so that I don't have to check them off every time. Does that make sense? I'm going to keep going. Most of the time, the seller is going to authorize me to put a lockbox on their door. So I'm going to go ahead and check that off. Earnest money. We do not maintain earnest money in Winston-Salem. So whatever your firm does, make sure you check that off. More than 50% of the time, for me, they have owned the property for at least 1 year. So I'm going to go ahead and check that off. If I happen to run into a flipper that's only owned it for 6 months, then I could change it for that specific transaction. But for me, usually more than 50% of the time, they've owned the property for at least a year. So I'm going to check that off for myself. Likewise, not under bankruptcy and not contemplating bankruptcy is more than likely what I'm going to see. And I almost never run into private roads. So I might want to go ahead and check that. I almost never run into manufactured homes. So I might want to put NA in here for myself in my business. If you are in a rural area and you run into a lot of this, maybe you don't want to put this in here, right? So it really is up to you. Now, good news on this receipt of sample forms, seller acknowledges a sample copy of the offer to purchase and contract. Seller acknowledges a sample copy of the professional services disclosure and election form. Guess what? Docusign finally gave us sample watermarked forms. So I'm adding those as I go through. Remember, have a little grace with me. I have 3 market centers. We have lots of checklists between each of those market centers. So I am going through and adding those sample forms. And just so you'll see what it's going to look like, as a little sidebar here, when you go in and create your opportunities, I wanted it to go ahead and auto-populate the forms into Docusign for you guys, which meant I had to give it a checklist tick. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. So I'm going to come in, and after this loads, I'm going to click Create Opportunity. And if you guys didn't know about the automatic form mapping, it's another way that you can save time. When I click Create Opportunity, okay, and I pick a listing, and I pick my client, and I go through and do all the stuff that I need to do. It is the 5th. Okay. Once I create this opportunity, the first thing I always tell you guys to do is go to your Documents tab. Come to the left-hand side and pick your checklist type, and this one's residential. And there's your checklist, and anything that has the TLDS box next to it is automatically going to go into your Docusign room for you. So down here at the bottom are the ones that you're going to get to see added. Okay, so that working with real estate agents question and answers brochure, you might want to send that over to your seller. So I've added it here, and I've automatically made it go into your Docusign room, but we don't need you to turn that in, right? I don't need you to turn in the Q&A to the compliance officers. So it says, do not need to turn this in or upload it. Same thing for the sample offer to purchase. It's there so that you have it to share, but you do not need to turn it into your office. It's just for you to share it. So that's what it's going to look like for every office as I continue to go through and add all these samples and stuff in. Okay, so I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. Any questions on that? Everybody good? I know that was a little side note. Yes, thank you, Amanda. Please do not turn in stuff that's not required, y'all. It just causes more work for the compliance officers and you. And once they see it, they can't unsee it. So if it's wrong, you're still going to have to fix it. Okay.
Yep.
Amanda's like, yes, yes, that is true. Okay, so flood hazard disclosure insurance. I almost never ran into flood hazard property. That's just me. I almost never ran into synthetic stucco. So I put NA there. If your business is different than mine, that's okay. You don't have to put this here. I almost never had a termite bond on a property. So, you know, this, I don't know if it's going to have a deed or a lien or any of that stuff on there. So I don't fill it in. Almost never was it subject to a lease. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's not. Right. I almost never ran into ones that already had just gotten an FHA appraisal on them, maybe way back in the day when it took forever for stuff to sell, but not right now. And I almost never ran into fuel tanks. Again, if I'm in the center of the city, right, that's where I usually work. So if you live somewhere else, you might run into a lot of fuel tanks. So then you might want to check off there is an oil tank on the property, or a fuel tank rather, like a propane tank. Okay. So whatever is right for your business that happens more than 50% of the time, go ahead on here and fill it in. Okay. Go ahead on here and fill that stuff in for yourself. Home inspections. I didn't usually get one, so I don't need that box checked. Okay. Additional terms, I don't know until I'm in the transaction. Okay. Now, here's the new box, right? If you haven't reviewed the updates of the forms that North Carolina Realtors released, read through what changed. This is one of those things, right? Dual agency seller authorizes the firm to act as a dual agent representing both the seller and the buyer subject to the terms and conditions set forth in paragraph 17. The seller does or does not authorize the same individual to represent both the seller and the buyer in the transaction. This is new. Okay, this is new. So please make sure that you're having the dual agency conversation with your clients. Both your listers and your buyers need to have that conversation. Okay. All right. And then below that is where you can initial for designated dual agency. And then we also have the exclusive representation. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that. And keep moving through. Now, here's the big time saver. Since I'd already put Keller Williams Realty Elite on the first page of this document, it's already down here because it's mapped, right? Anywhere that the real estate firm name exists is now going to have that in here. I can go ahead and put in my firm license number. I know Winston's off the top of my head because it's mine. The rest of y'all, I can look it up, but I don't know it. But go ahead and put your firm license number in there and your firm's phone number. If you're not a, if you're a provisional broker and you have to, if you don't do that for your forms because you're not and you're fully brokered, that's okay. We can go ahead and fill in our office addresses. Right? Because
You're in Docusign right now.
Go ahead, honey. What?
You're in Docusign right now.
I am in Docusign, yes.
It took me forever to upload my templates because I'm a geriatric millennial. So I'll go back and rewatch your beautiful video, you precious soul. But so, okay, that's where you're saving all of this pertinent info is Docusigns.
In Docusign, I'm setting up my templates for my forms, Kristen, so that I don't have to type any of this stuff out.
Again and again, repeatedly. I got it.
Yep. And I'm doing it in Docusign rooms. Okay. So anybody have any questions on the form that we're currently in? Got a lot of yays. I like yays in the chat. Right? This will save you guys time if you don't have to type all this stuff in every time. And just think about all this other stuff too. That's why I like these templates, because it's not just my name and my license number and my email address and my office address. It's like all the stuff that I almost always need to check. And that way I don't have to do it every time, right? So now I can save and close this template, and I've set up my exclusive right to sell listing agreement template. Good? Questions on that?
Hey, Monica,
Yes.
on the address for the office, do you just put it all in that first box?
I just put 1100 South Stratford Road in the first box and then
Okay.
200 in the second.
Okay.
So you
Good.
don't put the building C in there because it doesn't fit.
Doesn't fit.
I've tried putting like,
We have signage now too.
It'll fit if you take the spaces out.
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of crushed it all together like BLG slash or C slash ST 200 or something, just to try to crush it
Now
all
that
in.
we have signage that says that we're in there, it's not as hard to find it as it may have been at one time previously. But that's up to you guys. Totally, you can put it in there, right? Good. All right. We're going to go into, and I'm sorry we can't go over the offer because it's actually my favorite one to set up, but we're going to go into the buyer agency agreement. Okay. I keep hoping that the TT is going to get updated. Obviously, you would set up the working with real estate agents for your buyers the same way that we set the one up for the sellers. And in the interest of time, I want to be able to show you as much as possible so that you can see it. So again, I don't know the date that I'm going to be signing with this buyer. Do I know if Stephen is going to host a session to cover the changes? Daryl, he is making videos about the changes. I do know that. As far as the session itself, Amanda said, yes, he is. And don't forget on whatever day that is, bear with me. I think it's the 11th. If you go to ncrealtors.org, ncrealtors.org, July 2022 form changes. They're having a class July 11th at 1 p.m. where the person who actually wrote the forms, the lawyer that wrote the forms, will be going over the changes with you. Okay. And you just click join the Facebook group and it will take you directly there to Mobile Monday. I'm already a part of it. You would join it, right? And they'll approve you if you're an NC Realtor. They might even approve you if you're an administrative assistant. I think you just have to tell them that you are and for who you are. Okay. So just keep in mind, you'll have two options there for that. You're welcome. Okay. So I don't know who my buyers are going to be, but I do know my firm name again, right? It's Keller Williams Realty Elite. So I can put that in. I almost always was doing residential. If you do a lot of commercial, maybe you want to set up a second exclusive buyer agency agreement for commercial, right? And you can do that, not a problem. Under general location for myself, what I usually do was Forsyth County, Davidson County, Davie County, and Stokes County in NC. Yours might be different than mine. Those were just the counties that I worked in, right? Especially since there are people from 3 different market centers in here. You might work in different counties and that's okay. And it didn't mean that I never worked in Iredell or some other county, right? But more than likely it was going to be in one of these 4 counties for me. So this way I didn't have to type it every time. It's just in there. Okay. So whatever counties or areas that you work in, you can go ahead and put them in. I almost always am only working with a buyer that's purchasing 1 property. So I'm going to go ahead and check that off. But again, I don't know the expiration date yet. Okay. I don't do a non-refundable retainer fee for myself. So I'm going to put 0 in here. Okay. And then for this, again, remember 3 different market centers, 3 different broker and charges. For me, in this box, what I put is 3% of purchase price. Monica can't type. Purchase price on resale, comma, 2.5% of purchase price on new construction, and 5% of purchase price on vacant land. Those are the numbers that I expect to get paid when I'm doing one of those types of transactions. Therefore, that is what I put on my buyer agency agreement. Yours won't necessarily look just like mine, right? But whatever your compensation is expected to be, make sure that you put it in there and that you use details with it. Insert dollar amount, percentage of purchase price, or other method of determining firm's compensation for each type of property buyer may purchase, such as resale, new construction, land lot, unrepresented seller. Do not insert NA or zeros. Okay, so whatever you expect to get paid, then you're going to fill that in. Good. All right. Again, whatever your magic number is here, you can drop it into this buyer agency agreement. Nothing on here. Yes, I'm going to give them a sample of the offer to purchase. And yes, I'm going to give them a sample of the professional services disclosure. So I'm going to go ahead and check those boxes off. Then I don't have to worry about it. I don't take kickbacks from home warranty companies. So I'm going to say NA here. I don't know what my additional provisions would be yet. That would be a per transaction thing. Again, under dual agency on the buyer agency agreement, we've got those new boxes. Before it just said dual agency and explained what dual agency meant. Here, it's got that discerning second paragraph or sentence that says buyer does or does not authorize the same individual agent to represent both the buyer and the seller in the transaction.
Amen.
So they have gone one step further in making sure that your buyer and seller understand what this means. Okay. Pretty good. All right. Dual agency compensation, I'm just going to double what I did above. So I'd expect 6% of purchase price on resale, right? And I would expect 5% on purchase price of a new construction. And I would expect 10% on the purchase price of vacant land. And lot. So just double what I did on page 1 and double what you did on page 1, right? Because if it was dual agency and the same office was receiving the total amount of commission, what would that total amount be? Good. All right, moving on through, nothing on that page. And now we're back down here again. So we can do the same thing, fill in all of our info, fill in our firm's phone number, fill in our office address, so that we don't have to do this each time. Ooh, good sound, good song there. Brings back memories. All right, he's watching the Golden Girls during class. Come on, y'all. Just kidding. If that was somebody's ringtone though, that is awesome. All right, cool. There we go. Everybody feel good about buyer agency agreement and what you would fill in here? Good. Going once, going twice, nothing's in the chat, nobody's unmuting, fantastic. Save and close. And again, I can't show you the offer because it's not there yet. We're gonna check one more time, but I don't think it is. Maybe since the holiday is over. I've never liked it that North Carolina Realtors releases our forms on July 1st. It's like it's right before the holiday every year. No, it's still 2021. But as soon as it's out, I will hold templates class again because we are always getting new agents and people need refreshers. So I'll do it again and hopefully the offer will be there. But last but certainly not least, we're going to do the pro services and then we're going to look at how you actually implement the template to save yourself time. So I'm going to go into my pro services, 760, boop, and click use. And the reason I like to fill this in, like I said, is because I almost always use the same people. Okay. So if this was ordered, the accountant or CPA, it would be by the buyer. The buyer would have ordered that. The appraisal would be ordered by the lender. The attorney would be ordered by the buyer or the agent. And I almost always use Randall Perry LLC. Oh, wait, Randall Perry Law. Actually, I think is right. Okay. And then home warranty, right? Who would order it? The buyer or the agent. And I almost always use Kim Upchurch from HSA. Home inspections, I almost always use Drew Bringan from Home Team. I don't think he actually even does home inspections anymore, but whoever you might use. And again, this would be ordered by the buyer agent. Now, the reason it's good on these templates, that saves me time if in fact all of these people are doing all of these things. But if my buyer is like, hey, my brother's actually a home inspector, so I wanted to use my brother, okay, then you can change it for that one transaction. Does that make sense? What are the first few steps after choosing create form? Okay, yeah, Julie, I can help you with that. So any questions on why pro services would be a good form to fill in? It's just a time saver, right? And like I said, you can set up templates for as many forms or as few forms as you want. Whatever you think is going to save you time in your business, and then we're going to save and close it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is show you how you're implementing the actual forms, how you're implementing the templates. So remember, we just created this handy dandy opportunity. We came in, we picked our checklist type over here on the left-hand side, right? And now when I click start a transaction, all these forms that are mapped with that DS are going to automatically end up in my room. So I'm going to click start transaction. I'm going to choose Docusign. You have to pick your checklist type first before you start Docusign, or that won't work. Okay. I'm going to log into Docusign. Maybe my internet catches up with us. And Julie, I will re-go over what you were asking about as soon as I do this part. Hopefully this is going to work here. Spinning. Always love spinning. So fun. Come on. Like we need some waiting room music for this. Boom. So all of those forms that were there are now mapped and exist. Okay, everybody good? See how it all mapped. Now earlier I set up working with real estate agents template. So now I can right click the working with real estate agents. And because it has a template, I can click apply form template. Click it and apply. It is now filled in, right? So if I open it up, everything that you saw when we created said template is going to be filled in for this specific transaction. All my check boxes are checked. My name is there. My license number is there. My brokerage name is there. All I have to do is get my sellers to sign, right? I don't have to type anything on this form now because it was already filled in. So let's do the exclusive right to sell listing agreement. I can apply the
Monica?
form template. Yes.
Where are you on that page in DocuSign?
I started an opportunity in Command.
Okay, I'm sorry, I completely
okay.
messed that up.
I started an opportunity in Command. I picked my checklist type first, and then I clicked start a transaction in DocuSign, and I'm now in the room that's attached to the opportunity. Guys, that's where we are. Everybody good? And I'm right clicking and applying my form templates to Daryl's question earlier. Okay. Can you set up multiple templates? Yes, you can. And if you had multiple templates set up for the exclusive right to sell listing agreement, you would just be able to choose the one that you needed for this transaction and click apply. And so now when I open up my exclusive right to sell, all of the things that were filled in my template are going to already be filled in. So I'll only have to fill in the transaction specific items like the address, the expiration dates. Command brought in my seller's name. My template brought in Keller Williams Realty Elite. I already had the effective date as checked off, and this is going to expire for me on December 31st, right? So then I just have to go through and do, not there, sorry. All I have to do is go through and do what's not filled in, right? And if I had already put the street address in my opportunity in Command, that also would have filled in here for me, right? But you can see all the stuff I had already checked off is in there. My percentage of my commission is in there. Maybe this one would be able to go FHA and VA. So now I have the opportunity to check those off, right? This is where you have those opportunities within the actual transaction to make any changes that did not suit your template, because this one transaction is different than most or something to that effect, right? Maybe this was coming soon, then I could check it off if I needed to. So just because the template applies your template there doesn't mean you can't change. Maybe this one happened to have synthetic stucco, so I needed to put something in there, then I could. But just remember, if you get to this point and you're like, okay, I'm going to open this up. Oops, hold on. Not that one. Maybe you're going to start filling one in and you forgot to apply your template. If you started already filling it in and then you go back and apply your template later, anything that didn't fit within your template is going to get overwritten by your template. So I always like to give that disclosure. Yes, I could have gone in and started filling in this exclusive right to sell before I applied my template. And then maybe when I got to the last page, I was like, I don't feel like typing my name and address and my license number and this and that and the other.
Hey, Monica.
Yes.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Clarence.
On the exclusive right to sell listing agreement, I think you said the seller's name will populate. Now, where is it populating from?
So when you started in Command, Clarence, right, I picked that Dakota was my seller and I started this opportunity in Command.
Yeah.
And then I clicked start a transaction. So anything in these details,
Right. Okay.
next, so that was a great segue, is going to pull into Command, is going to pull into DocuSign from Command, right? So if I came in here now and changed and added the address here, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and pop an address in here. Like so. And then I click save. Watch what this says. There are 3 fields that are now ready to sync with DocuSign. So if I make any changes in my details in Command, then I can sync the transaction and click update and refresh this real quick.
Okay.
And that's now added the address.
Okay. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay, now for questions, we saw how to apply the form templates now. Julie asked how we got here because she was trying to catch up. She got held up at the beginning. Julie, we went to realestate.docusign.com. Again, that is realestate.docusign.com, not docusign.com. So we did that. we ended up on this screen. If you do not see these tabs at the top after it finishes loading, there we go. If you do not see where it says dashboard, rooms, inbox, and my docs at the top, you want to make sure that you make your window bigger because it can truncate the size and then you won't see it. Okay. And then you're going to click on my docs. And then you're going to click on form templates. And then you're going to click create form template in the upper right corner and pick which form you want to set up your template for. And we do have to do it one at a time, one template at a time. So hopefully that answers your question, Julie. Now, Jim, please restate the key steps for adding an app and using the templates. Can you unmute Jim and ask?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
So once I've got all my templates created, and I now want to do a new buyer agreement, I go to command, I go to
Opportunities.
opportunity and create the new thing. How do I make sure that the templates are available in that to start that process?
Yep. So once you've already set up your templates, they're just going to be there. So then when you go to command and you start your transaction and you end up clicking start a transaction in Docusign, it's going to bring you, I'm trying to talk and let this load at the same time. It's going to bring you to this spot, Jim, where you're in Docusign and you're in that specific room that is connected to that command opportunity. Okay. Your documents will already be here, most of them, right? Like, for example, I did not map lead-based paint to go to every listing because I don't know if your house is going to need lead-based paint or not. And if it doesn't, I didn't want you to have an extraneous document hanging out. But the core documents, working with real estate agents, exclusive right to sell, your residential property disclosure, your mineral oil and gas rights, those are all already going to be there for you. So then you simply right-click and apply the form template, right? If you have a template for that document and you apply it, then it's going to fill it in. And the other cool thing is, for example, your company name, your license number, your name, that kind of stuff. If you had to go get an extraneous document that wasn't already in here, if it's got any of those fields, they will fill in as well from the one template that you applied to your room.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're so
Very
welcome.
helpful today.
Absolutely. Julie, it's up to you if you want to choose from the library. For today, I would probably, guys, when you're setting up your templates, I haven't gotten to check all of the groups that are set up for your offices of forms. It looks to me like most of them updated to the 2022 versions, but I've not gotten to confirm that for every office. So if I were you, I would be setting up my templates just using the NCAR library, because that is where the most up-to-date templates forms are going to be. So when I go form templates, Julie, I'm going to create form template, and I am just picking library and then picking NCAR, and I'm just searching with this little form finder box for whatever it is, right, that I'm trying to fill out. Well, I'll be doing a refresher on how to set up templates in zip forms. I will not, Kristen, be teaching that on a market center wide level because I think it confuses a lot of people which one they're supposed to be using. However, if you personally want to go through templates with me in zip forms, I'm happy to do that with you. When will the 2T and the 4T? That's a great question, Clarence. I turned it in first thing on Friday morning when I found out they weren't there. For those of you who don't know me well, a lot of you do. I get super anxiety about stuff like this because I want to make sure you guys have what you need. So I was up all night on Thursday night, and at 2 a.m. the forms finally started coming in. And I was like, thank you. And then when I got up in the morning, I immediately went in to start checking through, and I noticed that they weren't there, and I turned it in. But with it being a Friday, the weekend, a holiday Monday, I don't have an answer. I mean, hopefully sooner rather than later, but I will definitely let you guys know as soon as I know that they're there.
Monica,
Yes.
I'm listening through all of this and making some notes because I haven't even set myself up on on Docusign because I use .loop. But my question to you is, when I start this process, say on .loop, which I've not done, it's going to be a similar thought process, correct? It's just following the .loop instructions for it.
.loop instructions instead of the
Gotcha.
Docusign. You're setting
Okay.
up stuff, you know, the way that you would use it, not filling in client specific or property specific info, because
Right.
it's going to get applied to every transaction you do for the next year.
I appreciate you commenting a few minutes ago because that's been my line of thought, or that thought process of it. The key to everything is always starting in command, correct? The key to
Yes.
starting these things so that you don't get out of order,
Even with .loop,
because you know how much problem I had being out of
with
order.
.loop, it's always a great idea to start in command. Just remember, guys, and I will drop them in the chat. And I got confirmation from Chapel Hills that I can do this. So hopefully Greensboro won't kill me. I go to the North Carolina Realtors website every single year, and I download every single form and save them into a Google Drive. So I shared that in Winston-Salem and Chapel Hill's Facebook pages. I'm waiting for confirmation that I'm allowed to do that for Greensboro, because they are realtor only forms. So, you know, got to be safe about that. But also Docusign. I taught Docusign tips, tricks, and time savers recently, and I will drop the instructions from this or the resources from this class into the chat so that you guys have it. Come on, copy link. I'll drop this in the chat. And just remember, guys, this path to get paid. Now I have one specific for each of your market centers. So I'm actually going to go through and find the ones that are specific for each of your market centers. But like I said, I'm going to be teaching this for Carolina Educational Services. So I had to make one that was didn't have any of my market centers information on it, but the path is still the same. It's always the same. Enter your contact into command, start an opportunity for them. You get into the opportunity documents tab and you pick a checklist type. And then you start a transaction if it's in Docusign or .loop. That is always 100% the best way to do your transactions, because it assures that they are connected together. The opportunity and the e-signing platform of choice are connected together. And that's what we want, because then when you go back to add your forms that are signed, if they're not connected, you have to download it and save it to your computer and then upload it. And that's not any fun for anybody. Right. So just a lot of people print this out so that they remember, follow the workflow, right? Follow the workflow. So y'all have that stuff in the chat there. You can click on that and it'll give you access to this and what I'll be teaching in Docusign tips, tricks, and time savers too. So it's got directions on setting up templates and sharing forms access for teams and all that kind of stuff, splitting PDFs, all that stuff is there. Emily, sample 2T, yeah, yep. I know, hopefully that gets updated very soon. It's honestly stressing me out that y'all don't have the 2T or the 4T in Docusign right now, but hopefully soon. Okay, guys, any other questions? Now's your chance. Nothing in the chat. So we just continue. Clarence, confirm with your broker in charge. whether you should just use the old OTP. I mean, you can still get the new one from NC Realtors and you can still get it out of zip form. So I
Okay.
don't want to speak for your broker in charge.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Good. All right. I'm here for you guys if you need me. Don't forget, I teach classes all the time, right? kwtriadtech.com if you are Greensboro and Winston-Salem, kwtriangletech.com if you are in Chapel Hill. And there are links to my classes and my Zoom and my one-on-one calendar and all of that stuff there to help you guys. I really, really love you all and I want to help you. So come to me with questions. Don't wait until you're frustrated before you come and ask me. Okay? I'm here to help you. All right. I hope you all have an awesome day. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you guys.